Well, good evening. Happy Valentine's Day. Um, I'm not really going to talk that much today because today's not a day to celebrate. Today's not a day to really be happy. There's never a day where a tragedy like this happens and you find any reason to be happy. If you haven't heard, there was yet another tragic event involving firearms. This happened at a high school in Florida, in Broward County, Stoneman. What's the name of it? I can't even remember. Stoneman Douglas High School. Just ridiculous. On their website, which I'm showing right now, they have an important message from the superintendent, Robert Runcie. He writes, "This evening, our district is dealing with an unimaginable tragedy at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland. There are no words to express the sorrow that we are all feeling. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families, as well as the entire Marjory Stoneman Douglas community. As our district continues to work with law enforcement, we are focusing on providing our students, families, and employees with the support and resources needed to cope with this devastating situation. We have grief counselors and crisis teams ready to assist, and we will be providing details to all of our families and staff as we move forward. Dealing with this tragedy is going to take time, and we will be here for every student, every family, and every staff member. Our hearts are broken. Please keep everyone in your thoughts and prayers." I don't know what else to say outside of that. I've talked on a previous video that I am an advocate for the Second Amendment, for a legal, law-abiding adult citizen to own a firearm that is registered, that is a legal firearm with all of the legal attachments that it can have. Yet every time something like this happens, it makes it harder and harder to support that narrative. It makes it harder to support the amendment as it stands. I talked in a previous video about creating smarter firearms, firearms that recognize when the legally owned person is actually holding it, whether it be biometrics, and then having facial recognition sensors even put on guns, so that when the firearm is aimed at a helpless child, a helpless student, that it doesn't fire, regardless of the intent of the person holding it. That it can discern that there's a child that the barrel is being aimed down at. It just gets harder and harder to talk about this, especially because I have two little girls who are age 1 and 3 right now, and we just started sending them to a daycare, and we leave them there in the care of individuals who we hope can protect them. And then you see at a high school, I believe the count is now 17 students were slaughtered for no reason. No reason other than a young male who was expelled from the high school, I guess, decided to come back and exact his revenge. The worst part about this story is that many of the students and some of the teachers knew that if a school shooting was going to happen, he was probably going to be the one, the perpetrator. Apparently he had pictures of him with guns. I don't even know if I'm getting the story mixed up with another one, because there was another story where a child who shot his father and then wanted to shoot up people at his school. He wanted to kill like 150 students at his school. Posted Instagram pictures. I'm sure I'm getting them mixed up, but again, this young man in the Florida high school showed warning signs, and yet somehow they went unnoticed. Somehow we keep missing these things. And I'm a huge fan of this one movie called Minority Report. You may have seen it with Tom Cruise, where he works at the office, the Division of Pre-Crime, where they have these precognitive beings that can predict when someone is going to commit a crime. And the premise is they predict when someone's going to commit a crime, and Tom Cruise and his team will actually go and find that person before the crime is committed and put them under arrest before they even commit the crime. And I just wish we lived in a society where that was the case. But I think it'd be much easier if we lived in a society where children couldn't get access to guns. That seems like a much more attainable solution. I don't know, and it's just so hard to talk about this. It's so hard to think about what the solution could be. It's so hard to say, gun control and what are we doing about mental health, because no one wants to talk about it. We all want to focus on the tragedy when it happens, and then we forget about it. But there's already been 18 school shootings, I believe, this year. I went to the gun violence archive, and I mean, just today across the nation there have been multiple shootings, but it's February 14th. That's 31 plus 14, 45 days into the year, and there have already been 18 shootings. What is that? One in every 3 days? My math is always a bit hazy. It's ridiculous. And unfortunately, we live in a nation where the solution to curb or to enforce more gun control laws is not a reality. There was another article that came out today, ironically, of all times, where a white paper was submitted to the White House by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and that white paper apparently had notes included in it from a lawmaker in the gun lobby community, where he tried to push the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, for less regulation on firearms and the sale of firearms and things like that. And it just makes me think, how can you, what kind of person do you have to be, seeing these news stories, hearing about the devastation that your products cause, still push these things? I mean, how much money does it take for you to sell your soul? And that's for some of these folks, it doesn't seem like it takes a lot. It's hard to talk about, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. There's nothing else really to talk about. My heart, my prayers, my thoughts, my everything goes out to the grieving families of the 17 that were killed, the others that were injured, and just to all the students that are now traumatized because of this one student. And my thoughts and prayers go out to that student as well, that he gets whatever help he needs. And to any students or people out there that have these thoughts, that think that gun violence is the answer, it's not. I don't know how how to make it less, how do we not glorify that for people that are thinking about hurting others in any way. But taking lives is not the answer. So that's all I've got. I would love to know your thoughts on the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. How do we improve? How do we fix this? And when is the right time for the conversation? So thank you all for watching. That's all I've got. I appreciate your time, and yeah, that's about it. Take care, y'all. Peace.